Welcome to Still Uncaptured with me, Lekorotsoana.
And myself, Undumiso Kangcobo Iqadi.
How you doing?
I'm great. And yourself, you're looking very warm.
Winter's here.
Winter's here.
Winter's here. I've had a cold for the past week, but it just never got to be too bad. It got a little chesty, but I'm recovering, so it's all good.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, I almost died.
Yeah, you literally.
I literally almost died.
So there's a weird strain.
Yeah, there is a very weird strain
that one needs to be careful of. Anyway, in the news, my friend, there's no such thing as permanent friends in politics, nay. But I will tell you, if somebody is having a hell of a year politically, it is one Floyd Shivambu.
Nico.
No. He's having a hell of a year. If you don't know, he was recently, well, they say it's not a demotion, but it is a demotion. He was removed from being a Secretary General of the Umkhonto weSizwe into now being...
I think he's just being redeployed to the National Assembly, which is where, for myself, I think that in terms of his political fortunes, and it tells you everything that you need to know about where I think his mind is at. And of course, he will deny this vehemently. But Floyd is a career politician. He's never done anything. He went straight from university. That's all he's ever done.
True.
I think Floyd Shivambu is going to be...
No, that's not true.
What?
Floyd has businesses where he gets like 15 million from VBS.
Okay, right. So, okay, let's continue with the serious conversation. Right? Because everybody who's a politician is there, has got a side hustle. We know why they go into politics.
Smaller skeletons.
Floyd has never woken up in the morning and gone to an office to run a business. Come on.
It's true. It's true.
That is just very, that is just very inactive. What do you call it?
Passive income.
Passive income. It's just passive income. Just money. That's just money that just gets
It's a given.
given.
If it's a politician, they have a foundation which it takes all their passive income in there.
So please banish that thought.
Okay.
Yeah. Floyd has never done anything. So what I'm saying that for him, for his political fortunes, being out there as SG of Umkhonto weSizwe, while within Umkhonto weSizwe, he's got a whole lot more power, and so for a good reason, because, can we say that Floyd has gone to school? And that his politics is founded, there's a foundation behind it, because he has studied, he has thought about it, he's well read, he reads. And so within that party, he was wielding, of course, immense power, well, relatively speaking, considering the nature of Umkhonto weSizwe and the fact that Umkhonto weSizwe is a bit of a feudal party. We'll get there at some point. But going to the National Assembly, I think he's going to get more prominence, because Floyd knows the National Assembly like the back of his hand. He once had the entire, him and Juju and Buiseni, had all of us eating out of the palm of their hands. This is just taking a fish and you are throwing it back into water and he's going to swim. And I think that his prominence, I think that his light is going to shine. Assuming, of course, that whoever it is that is the chief whip, that is leading the Umkhonto weSizwe caucus in Parliament, allows him to shine. But Floyd is great in the National Assembly. He's been great before.
Interesting stuff happening. Here's my question.
Yes.
Can he outlast Duduzile? Who is stronger, Floyd or Duduzile?
You see, what people don't seem to understand about Umkhonto weSizwe, and I think that people throw these things around, but there is actually a grain, not even a grain, a lot of truth. Umkhonto weSizwe is Kaizer Chiefs, guys. It's a family business. You can tell, it's palpable, the fact that Duduzile, whichever way you want to slice this, wields immense power without the political clout and the political, what shall we call it? The acumen, the political acumen, but she wields that much power because of her proximity to her father. And if I were to be in Umkhonto weSizwe, honestly speaking, I mean, I'll just be going around just following Duduzela wherever she goes and just going, which
You mean if you're a career politician?
is what career policy? Which butt cheek do you want me to? My princess, which one do you want me to kiss?
I have a question for you.
Yes.
The reason why Mr. Shivambu was whatever reconfigured,
Redeployed.
thank you, that's the word, redeployed,
Yes.
is because he made a really bizarre visit to Malawi.
A stupid decision. Can I say this?
You can say stupid because that
No,
was
sorry.
dumb.
I have to be honest. I'm not going to
What?
mince
No, I
words,
really
yeah.
wanna. I almost wanna call him. Get like,
What
what the fuck
happened?
were you thinking?
It was
Was Bushiri worth your career? Like, you go to someone who is a what do you call this? A fugitive
Yes.
of the law from South Africa,
Yeah.
a preacher
He was out on bail. And
in Malawi.
and by the way, that case, did anyone actually ever get any sanction for helping Bushiri escape from this country?
No, of course not.
Because he would have had
No,
help.
of course not.
There would have been someone from DHA.
If we were to talk about the failures of the NPA this year,
Yeah.
we would cry.
Yeah.
We would cry because they just lost the Muradi case, Ismail Khashule's PA. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Like remember, you know when
Yeah.
Shamila Bartoli,
Batohi.
when she took office,
Yeah.
you and I were still at Kaya.
I remember.
And I remember us looking at her and, oh, she was, you know, when the chairs, the cat that's got the cream,
Yes.
she was like, she couldn't stop smiling. Like she was so self-satisfied of just like smug. I did it. I got the job. And you and I said, hey, Cece, can you chill? You don't, because that's a poisoned chalice you're going to inherit.
Because who did she she replaced Sean the Sheep, ne? Wasn't that Sean the Sheep? Oh, but the NPA. Oh, but seriously, our politicians have not taken us seriously for
the
4
NPA
years.
is so compromised. And when do you think it happened, though? Because it didn't just happen now. It's been coming for a while. People have been hitting away at the NPA, flogging it until it's rudderless right now.
You know, and I remember Shamila Patowi. I remember the time we were talking about it. And you said, who is this woman? Where does she come from? I said, do you not remember her from the King's Commission, the anti-cronier max fixing thing? She was one of the, I can't remember exactly was she one of the commissioners in that. I can't remember what she was doing, but we can always just find that out. But what I'm saying is that she just, and I'm not suggesting that the NDPP, which is her job, National Director of Public Prosecutions, that her job needs to be performed on television.
Right.
You know, because we've had, no, it doesn't necessarily follow that it must be performed. I mean, remember, we've had really, really prominent NDPPs. Vusi Pikoli, we all knew about him very much. Mukoreti Mche, we remember him. We remember Bulela Ninguga of the prima facie case against Zuma that is unwinnable and so on and so forth. But Toy has just gone, just like, I haven't seen anything.
I haven't seen a smile either.
And I suppose that part of the job that you and I need to do as aspiring active citizens is to actually look at all the parliamentary reports. But I have never seen anyone talk about the fact that she is kicking behind. Right. Can you think of any case where she...
No, like I said, it's been abysmal, the performance of the NPA so far. And it just seems like with each case, it gets weaker. Certainly, it undermines the NPA in terms of the public perception and confidence that we have a body that will successfully prosecute. Bonabo, who was the guy who had his wife killed in Cape Town, allegedly? The Indian guy?
Oh, yes.
Diwali.
Yes.
Diwali. Botching up case like that.
Yeah.
There's 2 black men in jail.
Yeah.
In Cape Town.
Yeah.
For killing that woman. And they say that it was the husband, but the husband got away with it.
Yeah. And every single case that I can think, things get thrown, you know. And I'm not saying that Zizi Kodwa was guilty, but it seems like every single case that is prominent, at least,
Right.
it gets thrown out. Lack of evidence.
This is the Koto case. That's right.
Yeah, and or the NPA gets there and they keeps on pleading with the court. Oh, we're not quite prepared. We're not. Even the Zuma case. I mean, do you actually realize that the arms deal case is still in the courts?
I realized it today. To
That-
date.
like, to date. I mean, I think the latest thing that I read is that Zuma and the French company, was it Thales? Thales, yeah.
One of
I
those,
I don't know how that is actually pronounced, right? And they had applied to actually have the case thrown out. But does anyone care anymore? Because there's this saying, and I know there's a Latin phrase for it, but I mean, seriously, is justice delayed, justice denied? Because even whether you think, that Zuma is guilty of being of that bribery,
Right.
500K in an 80 billion, right? Like, never mind what the amount is, right? Is it really fair for this man now, 20 something years later,
Right.
to still be going to the courts over this one
Over
case
this one thing.
that the NPA just cannot
Listen,
seem
who
to?
else was I going to talk about whose case they botched?
Yeah.
I'll remember as we're talking. But it's just too many where you just think like, what is the public supposed to think?
Yes.
So when, for example, we're talking about GBV.
Yeah.
We talk about sexual assaults being completely out of
Yeah.
control. Would you trust the system?
And of course, in a previous episode, you and I were talking about General Mukwanazi.
Mm-hmm.
And we try to be balanced as much as we are, because I personally, I reiterate, I am a fan. I think that he is kicking butt, that he's doing something. But of course, I've got this cautionary thing where I say, ooh, but I do not know that I want to live in a country where the police are not only the investigating officers, but they are
Judge, jury.
they are prosecutor, they are, and they determine who
yeah.
gets to live or die. I don't think that our constitution,
No.
this is how we're supposed to live. But then, do you blame the police when they arrest these people, send them to our courts, and Ushamila Batohi lets them go?
What was the guy, the Nigerian pastor, Omotosho?
Oh, Motosh.
That was a recent case that also it just didn't help, I don't know what's happening with Barekemang, who's the other prophet who took pangas to a school.
Mboro. Ngimslicer kayi-one.
Mboro was slicer. But I'm
Yeah.
curious. So I'm curious as to Floyd, why did you go pay homage to Bushiri? If you want to have drinks with Bushiri at his house at night, it's one thing. But to do so publicly with that garish black shiny shirt he was wearing, I can imagine costs thousands and thousands of rands. What were you thinking?
But can I also ask this question? Floyd prides himself on being a Marxist-Leninist.
Not anymore.
Marxist-Leninist who actually is in a happy-clappy prosperity preacher who
Do you think... Oh, I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you think he called Bushiri Papa? Something else that I find unsexy. Men who call other men Papa.
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 Papa. Because wasn't it Marx who actually talked about the fact that religion is the opium
of the masses.
And you are saying to us that you are Marxist-Leninist, you are Fanonist, you are Sankarist.
Don't underestimate politics and religion on this continent, right?
Yeah.
Because they are deeply enmeshed.
They are intertwined.
And I don't know if as a political party, you could win any elections without getting the Christian vote on your side.
Which is why there's always been this question around Ubaba or Patrice Motsepe, You know, when he started going to Boma ZCC, I'm like, this one is angling. This one, I think, wants political office. I think he wants to be president.
No,
You know?
that's when we knew for sure. Hore, of all the people,
Yeah.
listen, there's like 2 people in this country that I think they would sell their mothers for the presidency.
Yeah.
Patrice Motsepe, Panyaza Lisufi.
Wow.
Panyaza wants the president. Did you not see Get Chopper's funeral?
Yeah.
When Cyril Ramaphosa is here. Panyaza. When who else was speaking? Like from not the mayor, not the Tata, somebody else like on that level. Do you understand? Who's like who next to him? Panyaza, come on, you're embarrassing yourself. The way you want the presidency, I think you need to kind of chill a little bit because but that's how people get the presidency.
Is it any worse than Mbax though? Than Fikile Mbalula?
He's about the same.
So I'm just
No, but Panyaza likes to pretend as if he's the man of the people and he cares more for the people than for the presidency. There is nothing that Panyaza likes more than the Obata presidency more.
My former schoolmate Panyaza, this is why I become a punk. my former schoolmate, you and I, remember, we were there on the hill, Stella Hill, Go Howard College. Me, I said nothing.
Yes, said it. I don't get work from them anyway. I haven't gotten work for them in years. They'll never give me work. It's fine. So I might as well tell the truth. It's fine. So anyway, this idea of you cannot succeed in South African politics without the Christian vote. You cannot.
No, it's impossible.
No.
It truly is.
There's no ways you can.
All right.
Anyway, shall we take a little break and then we'll come back?
We'll come back
after this. Welcome back to Uncaptured. Now that we'll never get work from the Gauteng provincial legislature.
No, you won't get jobs. Me, I was a punk.
He agrees with me. Panyaza, he agrees with
me. No, because I have seen Panyaza sometimes. I could be like the sauna, and he's just pretending to be busy somewhere in the view of the camera there.
The man loves the camera. So no, but I get it. I work in television. I know the appeal.
But Tim, you know what? He's got energy. You know, one of the things that I forgot to say when we were talking just now about justice and the law and what have you, is that there's an Italian a Latin thing where it says not only do you must justice be served, it must also be seen to be served. If there's one thing about the Premier of Gauteng is that when he does do work, he's very good at being seen to be working. I don't know whether he does the work or not.
And the operative word is seen. That is the verb.
All right. Moving right along.
Yes.
Is there a superpower that you wish you?
Oh.
What is there?
A few. Mari, I'll talk about one.
Yes.
Because I'm obsessed with this.
Yes.
I wish I had the superpower to fall asleep on demand.
You know, this is not the first time that you have said this.
Because I mean
You've said it on... I remember we were doing Uncaptured on Kaya, and you would always say, guys, I really wish I had this superpower to just...
To switch off.
Yeah.
My mind just goes
asleep.
Crazy. Sleep is a problem for me.
Yeah.
Sleep is a problem for me. So I'm constantly negotiating with my psychiatrist or with my general practitioner. Get worried, too many sleeping tablets. Weed helps sometimes, but it's a problem. I can't sleep. I'm not a good sleeper, so I have to be on medication.
You know, back then when you used to say this, I used to say, of all the superpowers, why would this person
like this
why
one
this
superpower
to sleep? Because I used to think, 7, 8, 5 years ago, I never used to think that I had a problem sleeping. But do you know why?
Why?
I used to self-medicate myself to sleep. And when I say self-medicate, I don't mean anything that I got from a pharmacy.
Right.
If it was not gin, it was wine. If it wasn't wine, it was whiskey. Now that I go months without drinking alcohol, I've now actually discovered that, guys, sleeping is something that I will pay I will pay thousands of rand to be able to
Exactly.
sleep.
Yeah.
Because there are nights where it's like, it's 2, it's 3 in the, when you are trying to pretend that you
Yeah.
are sleeping, you are trying to rob yourself into believing that you're sleeping, but
Mm.
your eyes are closed, but you're not sleeping.
Right.
So I get the need for
And
that
I wish
particular.
doctors would be more open-minded
Yeah.
about it. I don't think they
Mm.
are, because I struggle to make
Yeah.
health professionals understand the debilitating nature of my sleep deprivation. And if I don't sleep, then you're a zombie. You need sleep, otherwise you die. You know that.
Guys, I don't think sometimes we talk enough about the fact that of all the basic physiological needs, food, water, but guys, sleep is a very close.
Sleep.
Sleep. You will not function without sleep.
Yeah.
Because you
Very
need
important.
rest.
Yeah. And you need good rest.
You need good rest. And basically, while you sleep, we forget this. While you sleep, so many physiological and
Yeah.
biochemical things are
Can
you are
imagine.
replenishing
Right.
your whatever
Your
muscle,
cells.
your cells. You are it's therapeutic. It's like going to a hospital. Sleep is imperative. And you and I have already decided that we're going to have an entire episode on sleep because it is that important. So
Yeah.
I get that superpower.
No, completely. What about you? Mine is sleep. I mean, I'll talk about the others maybe if we get a chance. But what is the superpower you wish you most had?
Number one, and this will sound odd. Okay, maybe not so odd, but I feel a bit about sharing it, but I'll share it because it'll sound like I have so many regrets in my life.
Sure.
And of course I do, right?
Mhm.
But I'm also one of those people who I'm 53. Fundamentally, I like who I am.
Mm.
I like where life has spewed me. I would not want anyone else's life. As rough as my life is and what have you, ultimately, I still have a beautiful wife who loves me. I still have a mother, and and a brother, and I've got 4 beautiful children. My life ain't that bad.
Not at all.
Not at all. But the superpower I would love to actually have, even if I just get 3, like Aladdin's lamp, rabbit, and I only got
The
3
genie.
in my lifetime,
Right.
just to go back and fix certain
Eesh.
things.
Eesh.
There are things that you look back and you cannot, the clarity in your mind now that you're like,
If only.
like for instance, in 1994, when I was supposed to go to the US for 4 years, I should have gone.
Right.
I really should have gone.
Right.
I had a partial scholarship to go and do this thing, and I
got a
look back now and I think,
son.
not even for any other thing, right? Just for the experience of living in a different
Of
country
course.
for 4 years.
For 4 years.
For someone with how my mind is wired,
Yeah.
would have done amazing things
Yeah.
for me.
I hear you.
So that's superpower. Certain things that I just wish I could go back and just like, just tweak, just fix that little thing. I'd probably still be here, where I am, but the rest of my life since 1994 until now, 31 years ago,
Yeah.
I think would have had a very different hue than I did.
Listen, the media landscape has changed so much that in the past couple of years, I have found myself, and it's weird that you mention it now because I've been thinking about it the whole weekend, even before we started the conversation, about what decisions I would have made differently for my career. I honestly feel like media is not the business I should have gone into.
Yeah.
I really feel like, because now everybody's got a podcast. Do you understand? You didn't
Yes.
really need to have gone through television.
Yeah.
And now it's like takes so little to put a show together that people like me, who have decades in the industry, can't function.
A wealth of experience where you actually started it out as a producer and as a content
As a researcher.
as a researcher,
Bona content
and,
producer for like inserts,
yes,
doing this, doing that. And I look at it now and I'm like, that was stupid. And I hope young people who are considering studying media hear me. If that's what you want to do, my baby, go for it. If it's your passion, go for it. I just warn you. The number of jobs in the media industry have reduced so much there are less and less jobs for us to do, even as professionals. You get people who've been working for decades who cannot get work in the media industry right now.
And
Former writers, former journalists, what are they doing? We used to write newspaper for newspapers and magazines.
I know the answer. I know the answer.
What are they doing?
They are writing press releases because they are spin doctors. No,
Right.
that's what they do.
I would
That's what everyone
consider,
knows,
I
yeah.
think you can do media, but as a side thing. Find
Mhm.
a job that pays properly.
And the thing about media in this day and age is that you don't have to go and study media, because you can go play football and then get into the media. You can go
You
and
can do
become a
everything.
doctor and become a media doctor.
You can study
can-
law and still get into
law,
me and still have a show.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? So it's not one of those things that you actually want
You don't
to go
need
and
to.
study. But also, and the thing about it, it's not even the fact that it's dwindling, but more importantly, it's the quality
The
of
quality
the job.
of the jobs.
Where 20 years ago, if you were a producer somewhere, you could actually be a producer
Yep.
who's able to buy,
Yep.
to go and rent yourself a nice, 2-bedroom townhouse and buy a car, and so on,
True.
and live
True.
off it,
And take your children to school.
and take your children to school. So, yeah, for me, that's superpower. The superpower to actually go back. And then, sometimes I'll be sitting and I look at the woman that I got married to, where I left a very, very lucrative job in the corporate, and I decided to do this. But that is not one of those decisions that I would go back and fix.
Right.
Because if I had to go back, I'd still make the same decision.
Yeah.
There are certain tweaks I probably would make.
Right.
Because ultimately, what I am, the true nature of who I am, is that I'm a writer. I'm a storyteller.
Yeah.
I do this because it comes with the territory.
Right.
But if you had to ask me, what is my dream, is to wake up every single morning and sit in my house in my boxers,
Yep.
and write the whole day and
Yeah.
not have to speak to anyone.
Mm.
So that is my one superpower
Mm.
that I wish I had.
We'll be back after this little break. Welcome back to Still Uncaptured. I'm a little embarrassed of this conversation we're gonna have.
Okay, let me start it for you. You said something to me while we were busy plotting this episode, that at first you had to repeat it twice. In other words, you said it 3 times, right? Because you said there are people that you have been with sexually, specifically, that you never had sex with, right?
Didn't happen.
Explain yourself.
So the point is this. There are some people, how do you say it in English? With whom I might have indulged in flagrante delante.
Coitus.
Coitus. Coitus, not in flagrante. Thank you. Coitus. There are people that I may have had a sexual history with that I will never admit to. In my mind,
Yeah,
it didn't happen.
it never happened.
I either have such regret or shame.
Embarrassment.
Like when you see them coming, you pretend as if you never met them. Me, I've walked past people. Nah, rather than admit that I had sex with you. No.
It never happened.
And basically, I just tell myself it never happened.
The first time that my wife and I went home, I was introducing her to my parents and so on. We were not married at the time, but I was just like, this is someone that this is where we headed and so on. So we then went to church. Back in the day, I was still being able to have my arm twisted to go to the house of the Lord, right? This is like almost 25 years ago, right? So we go to church. After Holy Mass, you will stand around, mill around, and hey, and talking to people. There at the corner of my eye, I see this mama. This mama is wearing that purple uniform, Yamakatoji.
Mhm.
You know that one that Mama actually
I
likes
know
to
it
wear.
well. I heard, yeah.
Yeah. And she comes here, and I'm saying nothing about what, but I'm just describing what she was like. with her double G's, her 48 double G's or whatever. She's coming. And she's like, hey, Dumiso, hey. And I remember I looked at Tebucho, my wife, and I said, Tebucho, and I'm going to give her a fake name. I'm like, this is Sizagele. Sizagele, this is my girlfriend and future wife, Utebo. Because I wanted for her to know, don't, because I was looking at her and I remember
So what was the thing with Mama?
it, the way she looked, the way she talked, the way she.
Had anything happened between you?
That's the story.
Okay, I didn't get that part. I missed that. I'm like, where are you going with the story? Okay.
So this woman looks like she's in her 50s, but she's my age. At the time, I'm in my late 20s, and I cannot bring myself. No. We had.
You had peppered.
When we had been younger, and she was prettier, and she had been younger looking, and so on. But the way she looked now, I'm just like,
interesting.
My Deborah is just going to be like, really? So this is my predecessor. This is one of my predecessors. Who was this guy with? In his, like,
did you ever ask afterwards? Or like, so?
No.
That's
I volunteered the information. Something like 5 years later, I'm like, do you remember that woman that came? I'm like, I am very embarrassed to say, but also because just we had, we were much younger when it happened. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we had completely grown apart.
Yeah.
To the point where even the conversation just would have made them
right.
What did you used to talk to this woman about?
Right.
So no, my God, no.
So some things didn't happen. Yeah. So I just have a place in my head
where you throw people,
and I take tea bags.
Yeah.
And I just wipe them out with the tea bags. Or like, nope, didn't happen. Nope, nah.
And so here's the flip side of it. What if I were to say to you that there are also people who feel the same way about you?
That's fine.
Now, guess why I'm asking this question?
Fine. What? I indulge you. Why?
And the reason is that I remember one of those people, and we meet some other place, and we had, done the nasty. We, not once, several times over a period of time. Do you know what I mean? Like we had. And then and she's now, all married and what have you. And then we just, I don't know, we're talking about something. And then she said something. Ultimately, I end up saying to her, yeah, so for instance, like your husband, I mean, there would be no flipping point in him knowing that you and I had ever. And there was no one else. It was just the two of us. And she looked me in the eye and she's like, what
makes you think he doesn't know?
What the fuck are you talking about? No. She's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, I mean, you. And she's like, when?
What you talking about, Willis?
I could have imagined this, because it wasn't like a once-off. But she honestly, and I think that, and I'm going to be controversial, I think that women truly have got this gift where you are able to convince yourself that it never happened. That this guy, no, it never happened. No such thing ever happened. Because she looked me in the eye. She was like, what are you talking about?
And I wonder if it comes from being mishandled when we're younger.
It might be.
Do you know what I mean? There's so many times where
the trauma,
that's silly cousin, that's an uncle or aunt who touched you really inappropriately, and you just kind of park it somewhere where the sun don't shine,
and you don't remember,
and you just don't remember it. You just try to forget it.
Yeah,
I wonder, because there's so many of those instances.
Yeah,
for South African women, and as we found out, South African men as well, because men don't talk about when they've been raped. And we know that those incidents are quite plentiful, and typically they're in their teens, early teens, and raped by significantly older women. And it doesn't seem like rape because he kind of enjoyed it.
And there's a book that I remember I shelved, I think about 15 years ago, and I will tell you offline why it is that I shelved it. But it's about that whole phenomenon of, because young men like me, lower middle class, whose parents could afford to have domestic workers, there is an entire phenomenon that
Wow.
hardly anyone ever talks
It's
about
about.
with us and our auntie that used to raise us. Things happened, and I
Mm.
am saying this now for the first time, like publicly. I
Mm.
had such, I had
You had
such,
such encounters.
I had such an experience with an auntie that used to look after me, who would, yeah, and we would fight for the right, who's going to the privilege of sleeping with her in her bed. But at night, what she used to do was like,
Do you think she did the same with
woo,
your brothers?
of course she did. No, no, no.
So
And
wait,
we,
was she the aggressor?
yes, she would
Like initiator, everything.
bring you into her bed, and you would be just like sitting there. And so here's the and this is the thing about about
Wow, that's
about
intense.
about misogyny and patriarchy, is that how it is that as young boys we are socialized and we socialize each other, is you would actually go back to your friends and brag and be like, have you ever done it? And your friends would be like,
What
no.
are you talking
And
about?
you're like, last night, me
Right,
and Auntie Kanye, or
right,
whoever it was, or Auntie
right.
Bongi, whatever. Yeah, I was in there, and you would think, yeah, no, I'm the man. I'm the man, because you got some. Because even all the older cousins and all the, if I went to an older male cousin and I said, this is what happened, and they'd be like, what you complaining about? You got some. Yeah, but I'm 8. Do you know what I mean? But there's a conversation to be had about. There's a
Let's try to
phenomenon.
have that conversation. I wonder
It
what kind
has
of
it.
guest
Yeah,
we could have. Because my first question was
yeah.
also going to be, at what age do you start getting hard-ons?
Ooh,
Because I'm assuming
from
that
a
auntie can
from
only do that to you once you reach that age.
boys, little boys. Oh,
It's
3
instinctive, eh?
3 years,
Okay,
4 years,
okay,
4 years. You're already getting hard-ons.
okay.
No, 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 no. You ask any boy, they'll tell you they were getting hard. But obviously, I mean, at that
Yeah, yeah,
particular
yeah, yeah.
moment, it's so tiny. Like,
Yes,
what is she feeling?
right.
But yeah, anyway, there is also that. And I have always, I never suppressed it, because it was something that was always in my head. I always knew that it happened.
Right,
And then there were others, like later on, like when you are a teenager, where now you're also now starting to be sexually aggressive, and you're like,
right,
hey, one,
right.
but there's a phenomenon.
Did
Ask any
you
boy who would, yeah.
ever confront this issue at all outside of these walls?
No, I've never. For me, it never. It was just, on a serious note. This is something that might get unearthed one day when I'm 67. I do not know. But as I sit here with you now, it's one of those things that happened. I moved on. I feel like I'm okay. It didn't really. I don't feel like it affected me in any way.
Mm.
Um, and and
Hmm.
and that's, and I know you're looking at me like almost like, ooh, there must be some denial there. I promise you, because I've thought about it. I've sat and I've thought about it, quite a lot. And especially when you read and you're like, actually, shit, what happened there wasn't all right. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
Retrospectively, but it never got to a point where I'm like, oh, this happened to me. It's never got to that. Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, we only got here because you're talking about repressed memories that
Repressed memories,
that come
yes.
from trauma, which is why the person that I'm talking to you about, you know, was able to actually look me in the eye and say, "What you talking about, Willis? It's like it never happened." And
Yeah,
I'm like, "Okay,
right, right.
I learned. We shall not speak of it ever again."
I feel like I should do this. Claps hands once, we'll be back. All right, we're now into our last segment of Still Uncaptured.
Yeah.
And I know you commented on this because I was feeling so jealous. Guys, Johnny Gill had the illest party ever last week. By the time this shows, it'll probably be like a month, okay? But how hot was that party? First of all,
Yes.
it is in a garden, in
a
somebody's
garden.
house,
Yes.
clearly somebody's home, right?
I think it was his house, actually.
I'm assuming it's his
I think it
house.
was his house, yeah.
And it's more like a barbecue vibe.
It was like a cookout / karaoke party.
Bribe / karaoke.
Karaoke, yes. Who was there?
Jeffrey Osborne,
Jeffrey Osborne.
Shanice,
Yes.
Tisha Campbell,
Yes.
Anthony. He does own Blackish, the guy.
The Blackish, the bearded,
big bearded guy. Him and Anthony Anderson.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there was also I saw Kenny Lattimore.
Kenny Lattimore
was there. And
what a party.
Have you ever, like one of those parties where you're like, I should have been at that party.
I was very annoyed. Johnny Gill, who the hell do you think you are not inviting me to your party? And I know you're going to have one next year. So we are here and we're going to come to your party.
We are inviting ourselves.
It looked like you and your best friends having the best time. And your best friends happen to be in the music industry.
Yes.
So everybody can sing.
Yes.
So everybody sang.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And there was, Johnny Gill, Kenny Lattimore, Jeffrey Osborne doing a rendition of the Luther's very first single ever. Oh my love.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Never too much.
Never too much,
and
right.
they doing Never Too Much. And I was so envious. I actually put up a post on Facebook where I was like, damn, now I'm just really upset that I actually missed this party. And do you know what other thing I have seen where I thought, good Lord, why wasn't I at this party? Do you remember the video Biggie, the notorious B.I.G.?
Yeah.
One More Chance. One more chance. Give me
one more chance.
Biggie. Yes.
Okay.
Do you remember that particular video?
No,
Where
I don't.
Like, Heavy D is like the doorman in the video. People are just walking in. There's like Mary J. Next thing, there's like, you see Jermaine Dupri walking. You see changing faces come in. You see there's Biggie, there's Faith Evans, there's everyone was in that particular video.
Wow.
Including our friend.
Diddy.
Yeah,
the diddler.
Yeah.
We still have to have a conversation about Puff Diddy.
About Diddy. Yeah.
We do. Because I think we're coming from very different points of view. I don't think we view it quite the same way.
I think you might be surprised at the convergence now, because I think that we talked about it probably
before the trial started.
before the trial started. But yeah, I mean, that was like a party. And one thing I loved, but South Africans, I need to look into the camera about this. South Africans, there's that video. Oh, here.
Is that the Biggie
video?
Yeah,
there's
Biggie. What? Oh, no.
There's Tyson Beckford. There's Biggie.
Okay.
It's like everyone is in this.
But does it beat
video.
the Michael Jackson video where he's got like Iman,
Liberian Girl?
Is it Liberian Girl?
I think so. Where
Eddie
Murphy, and there's Danny Glover, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So, but the one thing, and I want to say to South Africans, guys, we've tried this and it's been great. It's been a beautiful ride. But enough already with the themed parties, man. Do you know what I enjoyed the most about the Johnny
theme.
There was no theme. Like, people were dressed, they came as they were. If you wanted to wear shorts, we were wearing shorts. If you wanted to
you see Shanice? Jeans.
Cedric
t-shirts.
the entertainer was wearing sweatpants because
Right.
he was also there.
Right.
And I'm just like, everyone.
But what was Johnny Gill wearing though? Johnny, can we take a minute? Oh my Lord, he was wearing his palazzo pants.
He was wearing curtains.
Woo!
It looked like he was wearing curtains.
It was like tent.
It
was huge, those pants.
Because Angisho, mind the voops. We used to call
voops.
Yeah, voops.
Yeah.
At Durban, we used to call it voops. I'm a bell bottom.
Yes.
Like those straight pants.
bareback,
The
the
ba-
bell bottoms. I'm very happy.
In fact, those pants is, I think that they actually, the proper term for them is palazzo pants, right?
Right.
Palazzo,
Yeah.
they just,
You know exactly
yeah,
those. Yeah.
whatever. Well, obviously, back in Durban, we used to call it to palazzo. To go palazzo. Palazzo. But like, I think just people looked so comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, there were people who just came there with amagoda there just because they didn't actually go and do hair.
It really made me miss having a dinner party because I
you used
to throw a hell of a dinner party.
44
Right?
Stanley, that's
Listen, that's
Oh my God, I remember that one of your, I can't remember which one of your birthdays. I suspect it might have been your 38th.
okay.
I think it was like your 38th birthday or 39th, whatever it was. And I remember coming there and you had thrown this party and there was like a keyboard and someone sat at the keyboard. I can't remember who was playing and you sang. And you did duets with people. Other people took the mic and
Begumandi,
the booze was flowing.
yes.
The weed was clogging up the place. We were having
people were happy.
People were happy.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we just thought, let's have a conversation about
Maybe when summer comes,
yes.
if we are still doing this and you are still there,
Yes.
maybe we could have one of those kind of parties.
And we could actually
A Johnny Gill inspired, still uncaptured party.
At number 8 Roger Street in Selby, perhaps,
Or somewhere else.
Because
potentially. Yeah.
That is.
Ooh. Party.
Because when you and I were talking about passions, one thing we didn't really talk about is the fact that Bafret, South Africans, uncapturists, this woman can sing. This here woman,
you know,
her
she
no. You see,
I used to. No, it's true. My smoking messed it up.
No. Smoking might have messed up the voice. What it does not do is mess up your singing ability. People can have a voice that you can tell the voice is no longer what it used to be. But Mara, if you could sing,
okay,
if
Mari,
you can sing.
Cho. Now you're cool, man. This Humphrey can sing. I know when we sing in studio,
it doesn't sound quite because it's not serious, right?
It's not serious, but actually,
but
so we're basically calling for a karaoke party at One Man Studios.
You know what? And we are inviting everyone.
Yes.
Watch your socials.
Yes.
We're going to send this out to people.
But we're going to wait until it gets a little warmer.
A bit warmer.
Yeah.
And just say to people, come as you are.
Yes.
If you want to come in there, even if you want to come in your leotard, we don't care. Come dressed as you are, and we are going to have a karaoke party. And we might even have, like a little gift things, teddy bears and whatever, and have this thing, and then just have a great time, right?
Just have a great time.
Okay, we have just.
I like how you're thinking.
We have just committed ourselves.
Yes, we have.
So we now have to do it.
We now have to do it. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been great. Don't forget to interact with us on all the socials, and we will be back next week. Thank you for joining. Bye.